Hello and welcome to GuySuCo Roundup. I'm your host, Curtis Sital. This week's program continues to reflect on the outcome of the corporation's recent venture, geared to build resilience and sustainability into its business. This time, the corporation partnered with the Regional Democratic Councils of Regions 3, 5 and 6 and the private sector. We bring you highlights of the meeting held for estate communities in East Berbice.
From the very land that gave sugar around the world the name Demerara comes the finest quality of cane sugar, Demerara Gold. Enjoy the real thing from the original source, the rich, fertile Demerara coastline where sugarcane has been harvested since the mid-17th century. The result is here for you to enjoy. Wherever this unique sugar flavor is needed, Demerara Gold is the ingredient that will always create a stir.
Welcome back. Partnering with the Regional Democratic Councils in estate communities has widened our circle of support and strengthened our ties towards achieving the second crops target of 2018, 103,000 tons of sugar. This partnership brings confidence in achieving the goals and objectives of our new strategic plan. Employees, their families, members of the communities, and representatives of the private sector were in attendance at the IFLOT, Albion and Blairmont estate locations.
Firstly, let me just take this opportunity to thank all of you for coming out here this afternoon and being part of this information sharing session. It is my hope that this session this afternoon that you will leave clearing some of the doubts that you may have in your mind as it relates to the future of GuySuCo. Ladies and gentlemen, I recall only last year at the commencement of the second crop 2017, that we had a similar session like this where we met with members of the community and had this interaction. With our second crop 2018 only about 3 weeks away, it is only fitting that once again we engage you, the members of the community, a very important part of Albion Estate, to share with you some of the plans of the corporation and the way forward. We will have presentations from our corporate communications manager, Ms. Thomas, and she will basically be dealing with the strategic plans for the 2018 to 2020, 2021 for the new GuySuCo, and in particular plans for Albion Estate. Ms. Thomas will also be sharing with us information on the Sustainable and Resilient Communities programs. We will also be hearing briefly from our regional chairman, Mr. Armagan, and from the president of the Upper Quarantine Chambers of Commerce, Mr. Begru. Finally, our estate manager will be making a presentation on the targets and some of the other programs for the second crop of 2018. After our estate manager's presentation, we will then open the floor for some questions and interactions.
We want to move as a corporation, from the red to the black, and we have a number of processes through our strategic plan in order to get there, and Albion Estate will play a key role in that. So essentially, like I said, the community outreach focuses on the strategic plan. We also intend to work very closely with the Region 6 RDC, since the Albion Estate is the largest single employer in the region. Hence, the presence of Mr. Armagan at this meeting this afternoon is well appreciated. Albion Estate, as you will hear a little later, employs over 3,400 employees, and we'll talk about the pensioners and all of the businesses and all of the other community support and services that the estate provides. We'll also talk a little about some of the challenges and why we want to build a closer relationship with you. We're very pleased also that Mr. Bigru is participating in this event as the president of the Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce. This is an indication of the way we intend to work as a business. And you'll hear me talk a lot about, or you will hear us talk a lot about GuySuCo now, not just as a sugar corporation or talking about the sugar industry, but we'll talk about GuySuCo as a business. Because we need to change our whole orientation, our whole perception about GuySuCo. It's a business. And therefore, it is the largest business in Region 6. So we appreciate the fact that the president of the Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce has graced us with his presence this afternoon. We recognize that while we have our roles to play, you as stakeholders also have your roles to play. If we are to move forward, this is we, GuySuCo, from where we are to becoming a stable business, we need to do that with you. You being the Regional Democratic Council, you being the Chamber of Commerce, the business community, you being the residents, you being the other businesses that are supported by us, as well as other stakeholders, you being the unions. GuySuCo is, in total with 3 estates, we were a $20 billion business. Annually, our turnover is $20 billion with 3 estates. The annual turnover for Albion Estate is about $9 billion. So it means that Albion Estate is big business in Region 6. And so even as we think of GuySuCo, even as you think of Albion Estate is a significant business. It plays a key role in Region 6. And therefore, we all have to play a part in ensuring that this business grows. This estate employs over, like I said, over 3,400 employees and manages matters pertaining to pensioners from Albion, Rose Hall, Skeldon, which number about 1,500. The estate's contribution to the development of surrounding communities includes drainage and irrigation, managing the drainage and irrigation system, providing fresh water for agriculture usage, and as well as it contributes towards economic activities, as well as provides emergency services. Albion Estate also maintains the drainage and irrigation, like I said, all the way from Bushlot, I think, Mr. Walter. And it also supports numerous businesses along Region 6, or within the Region 6 community. Therefore, Albion plays a very important role in the daily lives of residents and businesses. As such, we need you to help us to make Albion Estate successful. And as our theme for the outreach says, we are moving towards a resilient and sustainable business. And we need you to help us to grow this business. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Ladies and gentlemen, listening to Ms. Thomas' presentation, I think you can agree with me that it's very important that we work to save Albion Estate. 3,400 employees, in excess of 1,500 pensioners, not forgetting the contribution it makes to this community in the quarantine area. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to Ms. Thomas for those remarks. I'll now invite Mr. Punai Begru to make some brief remarks.
I must say this afternoon, hearing from Ms. Thomas, those are some very comforting words, and I'm very, very happy to represent the Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce here this afternoon. And as a business entity, I can go back to my colleagues and say to them that there is a future for GuySuCo and there is a future for Berbice and Guyana on the whole. But before all of this can happen, I know we as the stakeholders have to play our part. So I'm happy to hear that we are taking this, we are going in this direction, that we are treating it as a business, and we have to have a business module and understand exactly how a business runs to treat it that way. So ma'am, I'm very happy to hear that that's there in the plan. I must say that we, for it to be a business, for all of this to happen, there has to be commitment. And the commitment doesn't have to come from on top, it has to come from bottom up. We all have to understand that GuySuCo is ours. Without GuySuCo, so many things can go wrong. Our family wouldn't have bread on the table for some of us. So much jobs, so many businesses can be closed down. So we have to understand and we have to have the commitment. We can all be role models. We can all be put our best foot forward, and we can all work together to make this entity a grand success. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we proceed with our program, please join with me as we welcome our regional chairman, Mr. Permal Armagan, who will also be making some brief remarks this afternoon.
The time has come for us to appeal to the conscience of the workers to up their productivity, and that's what is lacking to me in GuySuCo. It's a question of productivity. If each person can up his or her productivity, then at the end of the day, your expenses will be less, your production will be there, and so your cost per unit will also be less. And that's what we are looking to do in GuySuCo. Unless your cost per unit comes down, we will continue to be in a state of uncertainty. Because the prices of sugar in the world market are not likely to go up very soon. And so the only thing, two things we have to do is to increase production and lower the cost. So that brings down the unit cost of production. Albion Estate and some of the other GuySuCo estates have been delivering drainage and irrigation services to the country's farmers. That's true. But I am a member of the board of directors of the National Drainage and Irrigation Board. And at the last meeting, we were told that $1.6 billion will be paid to GuySuCo every year for delivering that services. So at least you know some money coming into GuySuCo, which can, those are some of the things we probably got to tell people. For drainage and irrigation services, we'll be paid. So the money that is coming now, the $1.8 million, whatever it is going to go to the company, maybe to sustain it. Industrial relations situation between management and workers, that has always been a problem in GuySuCo. The time has come, perhaps, for us to work a different system of management-employee relations. We have to be able to rework our industrial relations situation to make sure that workers and management can come together, sit together, set the targets, work together, be accountable for everything together. Because when things bad, is the managers are accountable. Right? The workers always put the blame on the managers, and the managers always say it's the workers. So there is a backward and forward movement of blame, the blame game between management and workers. I think the time has also come now for us to work a different industrial relations climate, where we allow workers to have more say in the running of the industry. I know sometimes a union can be very difficult to deal with, but the union also has a responsibility to make sure that their workers are being kept employed, and the only way to do that is to keep the entity going. And so GAU and the rest of them, they also have a very serious responsibility to make sure that they work together with the remaining GuySuCo estates to make sure that we can keep them going. We cannot afford to shut down another 11,000 workers. We cannot allow for that to happen. Plus the areas in which they operate. Already we are seeing in some of the areas where the sugar industry has been closed, there is serious economic difficulties in those areas. We don't want that to happen throughout our region. So we got to make sure that we can let Albion run. We got to make sure that we help in whatever way we can at a regional level. Maybe we have to talk to workers, bring back confidence in them and tell them, look, you all, if you don't go and work, then there's a possibility that you will shut down the industry yourself. GuySuCo don't have to do it. I myself would like to see Albion surviving. I hope that the other estates will survive too. But I really want to see Albion because Albion is the biggest estate in this region, the whole country for that matter. And Albion has to add value to its production, to its raw material, and she did talk about that too. Ms. Thomas talked about adding value, providing white sugar, making white sugar, and adding to cogeneration. And so these are all good ideas. These are good things. We are moving in a direction in which once these things can materialize, it will be good for the estate. Once we can get into the cogen, we can provide electricity to the national grid and can make white sugar. So these are some of the things that we got to look at. We got a lot of training to do. We have to sharpen the skills of our people. But the main thing right now is to instill confidence in our people. If you don't instill confidence in our people, we will have more and more exodus out of the industry and people seeking alternative employment and going abroad and so to seek work. I thank you very much.
Your recommendations were well taken. Ladies and gentlemen, we move to the next item on the agenda, which is a presentation by our estate manager acting, Mr. Vivian Walters. Mr. Walters will be touching on the targets for the second crop for Albion Port Morant Estate. So please join with me as we welcome our estate manager.
Without doubt, as stakeholders, it is our responsibility to ensure that we give of our best, we play our part so that Albion Port Morant Estate can be sustained and continue to make its sterling contributions to our communities, the county of Berbice, and Guyana as a whole. We're hoping to have our steam trial done on the 31st of July, burning to be done on the 2nd of August. We're hoping to start cutting canes on the 3rd of August and to start crushing from the 4th of August. Strikes are always going to be detrimental to production, and we still need to continue to improve. When you look at the reasons for the strikes that we would have had, as you can see on the screen, we have had some very unreasonable demands from our workforce. Demands to cut and stock canes in wet conditions. Now, certainly whenever it rains, and rains heavily, you cannot cut and stock canes because it will be very difficult for the bell loaders to load the canes. Cut and stocking of canes will require the use of bell loaders. And even if you use the bell loaders, the amount of months that you will be having, that will be sent to the factory, but certainly not help in your recoveries, and it will also lead to a host of other problems pertaining to the factory. We have recognized that work must be done to the required standard, and management would have been very firm with regards to full compliance with work standard. As a result of this, we've had strikes during the first crop of 2018 whereby harvesters had serious concern with management's requests for the required work standards to be met. Attendance, very key factor in the whole business of GuySuCo and Albion Port Morant Estate. I've shown you here the attendance figures for 2016 and 2017 in both the first and second crop, and what we would have had for the first crop of 2018. And there seems to be a trend. Ladies and gentlemen, this is vital, productivity. We've always been hearing, when it comes to GuySuCo, honest day's work for honest day's pay. Yes, that is so. But we need to do what is expected of us. We no longer can afford to fetch people, so to speak, having people just turn out to work and doing very little or nothing. We have to deliver to expectations. Whether you're a manager, whether you're a rank and file worker. Because business is all about result oriented. And if you're going to be result oriented and you're going to be successful in business, well, certainly your productivity, the productivity from your labor force must be where you really want it to be. Our objective is to have each and every one of our employees on board so that we can be able to work together and achieve all our set goals and objectives at Albion Port Morant Estate. And the final expectations that we have for the second crop is having our employees adapting a healthy lifestyle. Once we have a fit and healthy workforce, certainly our productivity will improve and it will enhance our performance generally as an estate.
Thank you, Estate Manager Acting, Mr. Walters, for those for sharing that information with us. I think, in a nutshell, our EM has captured some of the issues affecting Albion Estate. So, ladies and gentlemen, that has brought us to the end of the presentations. So we'll now open the floor to you. For those that have questions, want to seek clarity, you now have the opportunity to ask the members of the head table.
I get the impression, speaking to workers, is that management is cutting down their days to save on expenses during the out-of-crop period. I don't know if that's true.
During the out-of-crop, work is offered based on what work we have available. Based on the union agreement, we're required to provide 4 days work to the field workers. But very often, we would offer 5, sometimes 6, depending on the work that we have available. But a minimum of 4. And that is based on the union agreement.
I just like to also make a point that when persons ask me if the entire GuySuCo will close down, my response to them is that nobody closes the business this will well. So let's make this business go well.
Let's say you have 1 acre, you have 10 harvesters, and the target is that they will take 1 week, 7 working days to harvest this 1 acre plot. Okay? They strike 1 day. You do not have to pay them for that day, but you would have said that you would have lost 10 by so many hours, man hours.
There's something called burning to grinding to go. Every time you burn that cane, right, the cane will start to deteriorate. So if you leave it out there, by the time it gets to the factory, the recoveries will decrease significantly. I do understand what you're saying, that, okay, yes, it's not a case whereby actually they're not at work today, the canes are all spined and so forth, but they do have an effect. They do have an effect, right, on your recoveries. Apart from that, it also prolongs your crop. And when it prolongs your crop, right, this is not included in the figures that I showed you there. But when the rain steps in, it's additional cost because your dams and your roads and so forth will get damaged faster when it's wet, right? Chances with regards to accidents are greater.
If the workers had worked for those 9 days when they strike, they would have gotten $5-point-something million in wages. GuySuCo would have gotten 422 tons of sugar extra. But because of the strikes, the 9 strikes, GuySuCo lost 422 tons of sugar, and the workers lost $5 million and something dollars in terms of wages. So this has to be, in terms of you or anybody understanding this, it has to be in the context of GuySuCo's cost structure. I would like to thank you all for coming out and to say to you that Albion Estate has a bright future, but I'll come back to what the regional chairman said, that a plan is what an organization or a business has to move from one point to the next in a structured way. But that plan needs people to implement. I can tell you internally inside of GuySuCo, we are doing a whole lot of things in terms of looking at our processes, looking at our need for training, looking at our technology, and how we can make changes and adjustments. And we're addressing issues as it relates to our financing, our systems, and our structures, so that we can bring the corporation, the business, up to a stage where it can be more efficient and be more productive. We want you to, the Regional Democratic Council, we want the business community, we want you, the media. You help us to get our messages out there. We can speak to so many, we can reach so many. You give us reach. And so this partnership is also with you. And so the religious leaders, you sometimes reach more people on weekends or Sundays and Saturdays and Fridays than a lot of other groups will reach. You're very influential. And so we ask that you would help us to not just make GuySuCo keep it running, but make it viable and respected business.
This has brought us to the end of GuySuCo Roundup for this week. Thank you for staying tuned and do join us again next week. I'm your host, Kurt Sital. Goodbye.